T-Bitch. Let's go.
Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Vincent Green.
I'm your host, Noel John Toohey.
And this is Invasion of the Potty Snatchers. Let's get to it, motherfuckers. Pew, pew, pew. You're gross.
You're gross.
Yeah. All right,
You're both
Noel.
gross. You both win.
Harsh but fair.
Harsh but fair, yeah, absolutely.
So, no, we're back. And as you heard, we're not back alone. We've got Kira Walker back in the studio. And this time, Kira's picked us another zombie movie, which is the little hitch we've got going with this series. Kira, tell the folks who you are, what you do, and what movie you picked for us today.
All right. My name is Kira Walker. I am co-host of the podcast Scarifyer. I picked Dead Alive or Brain Dead, the 1992 New Zealand zombie flick, which was a nice contrast to the last movie that we were talking about previously. So I got a lot to say about this one, so let's play.
Yeah, absolutely.
And nice contrast is definitely the biggest understatement I've ever heard when someone's comparing White Zombie to fucking Dead Alive. This movie is one of the grossest movies of all time.
I used to watch this movie religiously. We used to have this bar that my dad was like a prison officer, so he used to have this bar the prison officers went to, and I used to like bring this tape when I was like 17. I used to just throw it on just to see their reactions because it was so insane. Like I'd never seen anything like it. It just brings back all these warm, like the lawnmower, the hand being blended on it. Just chef's kiss. Chef's kiss is all around, and the complete unnecessariness. Yeah. Oh, God. So, Kira, your history with this movie?
I actually didn't see this movie until I was about, I want to say around 17 or 18, which was a couple of years ago. I don't want to age myself, but it was a while ago. Wink.
42 years ago.
Silence you. But I first watched it and I'm like, this is the grossest, crazy film I think I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
I almost feel like it's one of those films where it was gross just to like try to gross out the audience. It wasn't too big of a story. It's like, let's just see if we can make people sick.
Yeah. I picture Peter Jackson sitting there interviewing for The Lord of the Rings, and then just kind of going like, so what films have you made up till now? And he goes, don't worry about it.
Don't ask me those questions.
Don't worry about it.
It's like when you go into an interview and they start talking about your social media profiles and you're like, oh shit, what did I post? Why
does it say clear browser history?
Yeah, like one of the most insane things I've ever seen in a movie had to be that guy's hand exploding out your one's head, out through her mouth, and then like drags her across the room and starts pie facing. Like, how do you
the baby being born?
Oh God,
I mean, that has to be up
baby.
there.
Oh my God. And like every time there was like a wide shot of the baby, it was clearly a grown-up dude in the costume.
I've never wanted to kick a baby across a room until I saw that movie. I'm just kidding.
A film that me and Vinny seem to be unable to go a podcast without mentioning, but here I am again. The thing.
There we go.
But I look at a film like that and I think the most fun was actually had by the people, not just, and when I say behind the camera, I'm not talking cameraman, director, I'm talking about people like in the back rooms getting shit ready. They're the people who had the most fun or who pushed the edges. And this film is an excellent example of that.
Yeah.
Because they're like, right, we need the hand to go through the throat. We need the baby to be born. It needs to run. It's all bloody and stuff like that. The guy going, okay.
All right, we can do that.
Like the best fun in this movie
like
was
their
how
notepad looks like bloody running baby.
Imagine
just
like the script, like.
I remember where I was when I heard it. I kick Arse for the Lord.
Yeah, man. That priest looks so much like Dermot Morgan from Father Ted.
Yeah, we used a show called Father Ted about a priest, and he looked insanely like him. So that was just, yeah.
That scene was incredible where he just drops down and starts doing martial arts.
and then gets in bed. It was.
You're like, of course. Like everything that led up to that point in the movie, you were just like, of course the other priest knows martial arts.
Because why not? Doesn't every priest?
Kira, do you think it would be possible to have any other feelings about this movie than loving it or hating it? Like, do you think that an in between could exist? Because I don't. Because it's not like, oh, I thought the storyline let it down, but I have to say I enjoyed it. It's not a nuanced movie.
I really don't see like an in between. I think this is one of those films where it's like you either love it or you hate it. I have a good friend of mine. He absolutely adores this movie just because it's so campy and gory. I'm like, but it's dumb, and he's like, that's why I love it. It doesn't make any sense, and it is just gory. But one thing that I could take on this movie all day. I'm not gonna lie to you, I could rag on this thing all day. But the props and makeup and stuff like that, they were like so dedicated, regardless of how campy it looked. They were so dedicated to their cause, so I do have to give them props for that. But
it's like during that entire time, I just kept picturing the woman when she got her throat slit, and like she gets her head's hanging backwards, and we see the POV from her head being and his uncle calls around, and there's like the zombies are like shuffling around in the room, and like the dude's like, oh, I see you found one of your father's old stag movies. Is that the one with the donkey and the milkmaid? I'm like, what? I need to see that movie now. Why? I don't know, but like just to be
informed. That's the movie that we need.
Anytime I told anyone about this movie, and I was like, and I feel like I'm not impressing upon them how violent this movie is. I always go to the scene where he's trying to escape, but there's so much blood on the floor he can't. So he has to start jumping on the actual squishy bits of viscera and bodies and hearts and livers and arms that are on the ground to get some traction. And I always think that just beautifully encapsulates how
it brings body surfing to a whole new movie.
Nice. There it is.
There's your clip. Okay, I had an opportunity.
I would have respected you less if you hadn't.
The power of pun is strong in this one.
I can't fault this film in any way, shape, or form, because like anything you could fault it on is something that the film wasn't trying to do. Yeah. You know, like you could fault it on not being a romantic comedy. It wasn't trying to be a romantic comedy. You could fault it on not you know, and not having like a social message or something. It certainly wasn't trying to do that. It was like if something like whatever they set out to do. I'm not sure what that was because I don't have
gross people out
vocabulary for what it was they were trying to do, but they did it 100%. That was left it all on the field because the gross people out. Is it as simple as that?
I think so. Like, you know what I mean? It seems that way. Like every fucking scene, there was just like bladder effect. Let's fucking rip. It's like everything was just like oozing and viscous and it was grimy. It was fucking. I was disgusting, man. Like it's the worst.
I had a bowl of Weetabix and I was just watching it and I was just like looking at it, going, "Oh, damn it!"
Oh, is that the lunch scene? That the one that you were talking about?
Yeah, the lunch.
That's the only one that makes me gag. I will not lie. I can't watch it. I'm like, no.
Coming over troll.
Oh God. He says that as he takes a giant sip of water. I admire that bravery.
It's the only thing that stopped me from vomiting. I love when he comes back in after the lunch scene when after he's talking to his uncle and the two zombies are banging on the table and they're kissing and the nurse bites your man's face off. Like it's like I'm just like dragging it out. It's like every little special effect practical effect that existed, I think, in the 80s, early 90s was just thrown at this movie. It was just crazy. Like,
oh god, yeah.
When the mother explodes out of the ground at the end, and she's got this, like, she's just gigantic, like, and like it's like she's storming up the stairs, and then she gets him outside, and she puts him inside her again. Like, oh my god.
Here's the thing: there's at least one person somewhere on this globe, flat Earth, and
flat truth, bro, flat truth,
flat truth, yeah, yo. But on this Earth that is listening to us and has absolutely no idea what we're talking about, and we can't help them. This isn't a film where you were like, so first they planned a perfect heist. No,
Yeah.
no, wrong podcast. Wrong podcast. Abort. We are not going to be able to help you if you haven't seen this movie. There is nothing that we can do. Watch it, don't watch it, both are fine options. But like, there is no explaining this.
Oh man, like
it's something you have to.
It's kind of like a fever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's crazy though. Like what apart from the corniness and all this kind of thing and the hamminess of the acting and stuff, like the amount of ambition they showed with some of the set pieces for the special effects or the practical effects it was crazy. Like, and I don't even know how this movie got greenlit. Like, if you make this movie today and it's R-rated 100%, is this an R-rated movie?
I believe it was, yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah.
A VZ rated movie or something like that.
Oh God. It just
I don't think it was
to show though
self-funded.
that you can make anything happen if you just try hard and believe in yourself. Kids. You can make shit like this.
Yeah.
But how did that dude go from making a crazy motherfucking movie like Dead Alive to Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings. Like, you find I have to. Every time I do it in my head, I have to say Lord of the Rings very slowly.
Yeah.
So I need it to sink in. He went from making this to making Lord of the Rings trilogy. All three of them. Peter Jackson.
Yeah, oh man, it's crazy, man. The ascension of the Jackson is undeniable.
Oh yeah, I mean, he made Frightener. Was not Peter Jackson as well?
Frighteners. Yeah, Michael J. Fox.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Like, I mean, this looks like it's absolute madness because it absolutely is. But there has to be method. There has, like, somebody sat behind that director's chair and made this hilariously great, grotesque film. But there was actual work. It's a thing where we're like, oh God, if I got in a director's chair, this is the kind of film I could make. Would take somebody who knows what they're doing to make a film like this. You think it's just absolute insanity. But somebody had to literally say, right, we need to get this out. We need to get this bloody. We need this cutscene. We need this bit of violence. But then we need this room ready. As in, somebody would have had to, with a pen and paper, sit down and think about this. I don't think that this is just you kind of think like this guy isn't a talented director, but I think he absolutely is. I don't think this film would have been easy to make.
What they call it, organized
the
chaos.
Practicality, mind blowing. It's just storyline was silly and it was extremely grotesque.
Yeah,
That's true. It keeps freezing. I'm so sorry, guys.
Yeah.
It's wonderful staring at your wonderful faces. But like, I'm trying to like play catch up with audience smile.
It's happening to us all. Okay, so it's not just happening to me. At least I feel.
Yeah, a minute ago, frozen you like this. He's like, every time Noel goes to talk about Peter Jackson Zoom, he's like, no, I didn't like the Hobbit movies.
If we're going to freeze, I want my cool somber face. That's my rap cover. That's my Limp Bizkit style rap album that I've been working on.
Curious, talk to me. Like the main thing about this movie, like aside, like, is the gore. Really, it is the gore. It's all about the gore. What was your what was your favorite, most disgusting? But apart from the lunch sequence, we all discussed about that. Like, apart from the lunch sequence, what do you think was the standout, most disgusting moment from Dead Alive?
Oh God, there's so many. That's the problem. This movie is literally so jam-packed that like the scenes start to blend together because it's just like it's like nonstop. I kind of want to say the lawnmower.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Between the lawnmower scene and when they're going through like the party and they are literally just like ripping people apart. That was gory. That was
the intestines. Remember later on the intestines coming down from the ceiling. Like, oh my God.
Just kind of crawling all over the place like they got someplace to be.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about the sentient intestine. God, I don't know why. I only watched it today.
What is it, like
it's a lot to,
kidney and lungs or something like that?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And it's the thing it is. I remember thinking I went to Comic-Con there recently for the first time, and the first thing I thought when I got there is there's a lot taken straight away. You know, like just like 1 second.
Yeah, it was assault on the senses.
And I remember having that feeling again when I watched this. So the babies, the nerd, the doctor, he's back. So he's cut in half now, and you need to keep up with it. It is, it is gross, but it is a lot happening at once.
What was your
the Matrix of gore?
But at least I will give it also this, but at least when like the story started to kick off and like the zombie and the gore started to kick off, it really took off. Like there's no stopping.
Oh yeah.
It's like somebody lit like 1,000 matches at once. You know?
Yeah, exactly. 1, 2, 3, go.
Sorry, go on.
I like the stop motion Sumerian rat.
You know what the rat monkey.
I love that. It looked like Jason and the Argonauts. They went back to like this kind of 1960s stop motion shit. And I was like, yeah, I'm into it. I'm into it.
Do you remember the Legend of the Rats, the rat monkey? They're like when the first settlers came here, they're like all these gigantic rats came off the ship and they went in and raped all the monkeys in the trees. Like, oh my god, like how do you write that shit?
Yeah, who comes up with that?
I'd love to think it was like a brainstorming session and somebody sitting there going, right, so they get there and there's rats, right, and they get on the island and they're just sitting there and somebody just goes, they rape the monkeys. Oh my god, it was right there in front of us the whole time. Just
perfect, put it in
the film. Rat monkey, it's fucking incredible. But no,
it is a fever dream, but it is an
you're a fever dream.
Excellent
film. Noel keeps stalling. He's like, we shitty internet. Boo, Noel.
Boo me.
Yeah. Boo you.
Is it my internet?
Yeah, it came up. You've got low bandwidth or some shit.
Yeah, I just got that pop up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, boo, Noel. Ruining the production quality of the show.
I'm sorry, you guys. I didn't know it was
pressure
me.
Just stopped screwing up. God.
He's just so good at
it. Okay.
Come on, Noel, talk to me. Tell me what was the most gory shit? Did you tell me what the most gory shit for you was?
I think the most gory shit for me was the mother at the end, where she tried to like rehouse her child.
Rehouse
giant monster titty. Yeah, re-womb. I don't know how you like unbirth. Like,
took him back to his first apartment.
Yeah.
Could you imagine Noel's like a doctor and he's doing like a donor surgery and he's like, yeah, we're going to rehouse your kidney.
But I found that shit was so disturbing. I just, and even though it's kind of gone really off the reservation in terms of how silly and kind of unhuman and unrealistic it all looked, I still found that to be just like really, really unsettling. And I think you're kind of like the assault in the senses has been happening for about 20 minutes now. It's like a whole house invasion. And you're just kind of like, dude, I'm tired.
Oh my god. How many times did you say what the fuck when you're watching this movie? Like it's just like
I think I'm more of a for fuck's sake kind of guy.
I'm like, what
I am. I really I'm more of an for fuck's sake kind of guy. That's my flavor. That's how I roll. I just keep going like, for fuck's sake.
How about
I know that it does not go well with breakfast.
What do you like to exclaim? It's like, oh no.
I was about to say, I actually am from the South, so dag blam it tends to be my thing. I won't lie.
Really?
Dag blam it.
And you shoot a few rounds off into the roof.
Depends on how angry I am.
God damn it, Clancy, that's not the remote.
America.
No.
Oh yeah, I was actually okay. So we actually have a reception now. It's not my fault. I was going to say, look at this film after not seeing it for I'm going to say 15, 16 years. I remember just thinking that, despite the fact that, like, I mean, I've started a horror podcast. I've been looking at films from all across. This film is absolutely especially spectacular inside of what it is. Like to this day, despite the fact that I've seen 1,000 films since I've seen this film, I still do not know what to compare this to. I have no frame of reference for it.
Yeah.
I think that is something that I genuinely admire about it. You know, you just think like, well done, sir. And moving from this on to Lord of the Rings, you're just kind of going, wow, just absolutely
in the space of 10 years.
In the space of 10 years.
Yeah, it makes no sense. What did he make it? Like, even he must have always had a fascination. Frighteners, but he must have always had a
Frighteners would have landed there in about 96.
But I was going to say that he must have always had a fascination with cutting edge technology, because like, look, even what he did here with practical effects, and then you go on to Frighteners, that's a whole nother level altogether. And then you take that and bring that 5 years later, he's directing Lord of the Rings. And like, you know what I mean? It's like, I think was it Weta that was created on the back of Lord of the Rings, his company, his special effects company. So like, it's kind of cool that like he's kind of like the George Lucas of our era in a lot of ways. You know, that like he like the way George Lucas came up with ILM and like the development of him as a creator and all this kind of stuff, that like, even though George Lucas started off with kind of I think he made like one movie maybe before American Graffiti, and then it was Star Wars. To see the kind of like the progress or the advancement he made in his career, like Peter Jackson, for me, and the way he's impacted the industry himself, is very similar to me, I think, for George Lucas, like the career trajectories that the both had.
I never thought of it that way, but that's actually an excellent point.
I have one every year.
Yeah.
This is the one time.
Cherish this moment. It will not come again.
Mark the date. You look back on this film and you think like just it's a salute to everyone involved.
I salute you, sir. Sing a blood-filled tear running down my face.
And imagine like there was only like, imagine at the end of it there was just one mop.
God, I hate that job.
Now, whoever operated that mop must have been an artist, absolute artist.
They're probably cleaning up crime scenes or something for a living.
I just picture everybody celebrating, going, "Yeah, well, God, that went amazing!" And then everyone goes to party, and it's just one poor slob
putting on his Walkman. It's a dirty job, but someone's got to do it.
But I thought this was a spectacular choice. I think I've been probably meaning to get back to this film for some time now.
Yeah.
And to have an excuse to actually go back to it. But that said, I think I'm okay to not see it again for quite some time also.
You're like, I'm satisfied. We're good now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like when you drink like a couple of shots of Jägermeister. You're like, no, I like Jaeger, but I'm not going to give it a break for a little while.
Yeah.
Take a rest for a second.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know why I ever stopped doing this. And you're like, oh,
this is why.
That's why.
That it lives like the Jägermeister movies.
That should have been his tagline.
Yeah.
That would have totally worked. But would you recommend this movie to people? Or would you think it's more of, if you're into horror, this is for you? Or if you're into gore, this is for you? Because I do think that you have to be a little bit more specific. But would you recommend it? Because I'd recommend this to anyone. I just would.
Well, honestly, I think you could recommend it to anybody, because even if somebody's not into like the horror aspect of it, it does have comedy elements to it. So there's a little bit of that for people. I'm a complete asshole, and I have a friend of mine who absolutely hates horror. And I had her watch this, and she got so mad at me. She got up within the first 10 minutes, and she's like, "You're a dick." That's just me. So you can use it as a reward and a punishment.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's a versatile film.
Well, I threw it on, and again, like I said, in a pub with some 17-year-old guy. And the thing is, if you got up and walked out, you're a pussy, because, you know, we're men and we judge each other like. So I was just like, going, how are you finding it there, Jar? Oh, good. Mike, join the movie. And he'd be like, yeah, no, it's a bit gross. I was like, yeah, it's a bit gross, but it's okay. It's fine. It's fine. I knew like there was so many people uncomfortable, and I was like, what? I was like desensitized myself with like 2 or 3, you know, like viewings, and I just thought that, yeah, no, absolutely. This is my I want to watch the world burn movie, and I forgot how much I absolutely loved it. What about you, Vin? Would you recommend this to people?
Oh man, 100%. Like it's kind of like it's the complete other end of the spectrum in terms of horror as Hellraiser, but it would probably give you the exact same type of feelings. Like, I mean, it's when you say there's no middle ground with this movie, anyone you talk to about like a movie like Hellraiser, they either love it or hate it. It's just that balls to the wall.
That's true.
You know, and this is kind of like in the same tone, not in the same tone, but in the same kind of way that even though it's very comedic, that there is no middle ground with this movie. It's balls to the wall. It's like what Kira said, like as soon as the zombies and as soon as the gore starts happening, it starts happening quick and often. And from then on, it's balls to the wall. It's like, you know, like turned up to 11. Like it's crazy. Like it's one of the movies that I hadn't seen in a long time. I think I've only ever seen it once before. And I could not stop saying what the fuck throughout this whole movie. Like I was just like, what the fuck? Oh, come on, man.
That's like, the tagline right there.
That's your tagline.
It's like, why? Why would you do that? You know, and that's what I love when a movie really grosses you out and you're constantly like questioning the filmmaker's sanity and the reasons behind their choices. It's like, how is that a good narrative choice? Oh, and you're like back to being a kid again, looking through your fingertips, you know. And I think in a movie can do that to you, how desensitized we are. And it's like 30 years old, and it still hits you in the same way it hit you the very first time. And I can't imagine this movie hitting you any other way than the way it hits you. It's going to just turn your guts and make you smile and make you nauseous. But like everything it does to the nth degree and to the very maximum. That's the fucking best thing about this movie, that it's gross, it's hilarious, it's ridiculous, but everything it does to perfection, considering the budget they had. It's a fucking piece of art.
But if every film on common, it's supposed to entertain, and if it's Philadelphia or it's the Green Mile or it's this, anything. If this film doesn't gross you out, if you're able for it, this film is entertaining. I would defy anyone to tell me that this isn't as entertaining as fuck. And you know, at the end of it, you're a bit grossed out, but it's funny. It's genuinely funny.
Yeah, that's the best thing about it. It's kind of has a heart to it. You know what I mean? It has numerous organs. Like I think like a movie like this though, definitely like
three-pointer.
It definitely influenced something like Shaun of the Dead. That like it's look at Shaun of the Dead, something we're going to be covering for the zombie series, is that like it's really gory, it's kind of really over the top, it's really ridiculous, but at the end of the day it's kind of this kind of heartwarminess to it. And that's what this kind of story had. It had the love story between, it was a Paquita and what was the main character's name? Dennis? No? Anybody?
Don't know.
I just had it.
But just at the end of the day, it's like there's a love story. Even though it was covered in gore and ridiculousness and blood and guts and whatever, at the end of the day, it's kind of a funny zom-com. And in the same way, White Zombie, the movie we talked about previously, was the birth and the genesis of the genre as a whole. This, in a sense, was maybe like the genesis of the zom-com, which is something that became very popularized in the mid 2000s and so on. You know, how about you, Kira?
Yeah.
No, I completely agree. I think this is another movie that kind of like is a flag on where the genre was morphing and developing, and it did push the boundaries on excuse me, I'm choking as I'm talking.
Picture the scenes. Like,
it definitely did push the boundaries with gore and gross, and if I remember correctly, because it was actually banned in a couple of countries because of how over the top, bloody and gory.
Yeah.
But I don't think that we would have the movies that we have now without like films like this, you know, 100%. Or the idea of what zombie movies could be without films like this. So I do think it's a very important film. Love it or hate it, I think it is a very important film.
How about you, Nolly?
I think it's the same thing. I do think it becomes very important. Anything that pushes the envelope. Sometimes I watch a lot of movies. Look, between the three of us, it's probably unhealthy how many movies we're investing in a year, I'm sure. And I'm holding my own in that. But sometimes you just see a movie kind of go, that's great. It's again, and I don't need every movie to push the envelope. In fact, I don't want every movie to push the envelope because that's all a movie would be then.
Yeah.
But but every now and again you see one. And I think White Zombie, again, we were talking about previously, in its way, it pushed the envelope, it brought the zombie thing to the forefront of, let's just see how far we could push it before people push back. And then they tested the perimeters. And then when it was known, people were like, you know what? Like, that is so grotesque. That is so outlandish. That is so out there. We could take it 70% of the distance he took it. Yeah. We could go really, really crazy here.
And hit mainstream.
Still have a lot of daylight. And I do think for that, you have to commend it.
Oh, 100%.
Just where they absolutely know we draw the line here, and you're like, oh, there's an awful lot of daylight between what they pushed it to and what could still be extremely gory. And I think that's why, like, Shaun of the Dead, for a film that came out in 2004, there was times where that was a lot more gory than you thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
and I think maybe there's a tip of the cap because it's always a ripple effect. It's all going forward, and I do think that there's a tip of the cap to be had for this film for just really pushing the ball out there for us.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it showed you the boundaries, and because the boundaries, you realize after watching a movie like Dead Alive that even though it probably didn't hit mainstream in the same way Shaun did was, it showed you exactly what the boundaries are. It showed you what you could get away with. As you said, you tone it down ever so slightly. You keep a very similar formula, keep a very similar format, and you keep it a little bit less ridiculous and a little bit more mainstream. And you get a gigantic hit like Shaun of the Dead, like 15 years later, or like 12 years later or something. So like, there's no doubts that Shaun of the Dead may not be a direct clone of Dead Alive, but definitely shares a lot of the same DNA, 100%.
Yeah.
But so anybody have any last words? We get the fuck out of here. Just been awesome.
Just give Kira her let's find out her and what you need to do to keep in touch with her.
All right, absolutely. I'm sorry, I keep choking. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like the beauty of the conversation. Tears.
I think she's having a Diet Coke break effect with us there.
I think she got bit by a rat monkey, man. Check that shit out. She got the bite.
Rats I can handle, monkeys I cannot. So you know what? All right. So you can find my podcast. We're on the podcasting platforms, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can find us there. We are also on YouTube, but also check us out on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We have a community there. I always like to tell people we don't bite hard. So yeah, check us out, give us a shout, and yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for coming along, Kira. And,
check it all out.
You broke up there. Your joke was ruined. Blame technology.
Fucking hell.
All right, motherfuckers. I'm your host, Vincent Green.
I'm your host, John Toohey.
This is Asian Potty Snatchers. That was Kira Walker, and that was Dead Alive. That insane motherfucking movie. See you next time, folks. Peace.
Peaches.
Yo, she bitch. Let's go.